Welcome Bleach fans. Today's video, I want to cover swordsmanship in Bleach. I think there is a terrible misconception about the Bleach series when it comes to swordplay. I often hear Bleach is all Bankai and blowing stuff up. I've even heard this from Bleach fans themselves, and I couldn't disagree more. Kubo has a lot of respect for swordsmanship, and that's what I want to talk about today. Just because Bleach characters don't yell their sword techniques every other panel, or it isn't set in some Ronin atmospheric type series, doesn't mean that they're not swordsmen. That wasn't a dig at any series, I swear. Remember, if you like the content, hit the like and subscribe buttons. It takes 2 seconds and I'd appreciate your support because I know your time and attention is worth something. Let's go. Recognize sword styles. Kendo. I want to start with Kendo as this is the one sword style that even non-Bleach fans attribute as the sole fighting style in Bleach. This is mainly due to that singular Zaraki line of Yamamoto giving Kenny a one-day course of Kendo. Then Kenny promptly using that two-hand Kendo amp against Noitara. Funny enough, that move is actually considered Zanjutsu, but I'll get to that later. Kendo is the grandchild of Kenjutsu, which is a sword style I will cover shortly as well. But essentially, Kendo is a sword art defined by its usage of 10 kata that work on techniques that are divided into two main parts, Shikaki Waza, to initiate a strike, and Oji Waza, a response to an attempted strike. It's generally practiced with wooden swords, two hands, and a discipline to master both the weapon and yourself. Now, there is a practical version of Kendo and a sport version of Kendo, which I feel I need to make clear. Kendo is seen quite often in the series, and honestly, it's the most recognized. The one example given earlier was Kenny's two-handed swing that essentially killed Noitara. You see it earlier in chapter 66, when Kisuke is bullying Ichigo with the two-hand forward attack in proper stance. Glimpses of it are seen in Ichigo's final clashes against both Byakuya and Kenpachi. I think both final clashes show stance and precise, quick, and simplistic Kendo movements. Kendo is covered pretty well and is well known, so let's move on to the next one. Iaido, or Iaijutsu. As some may have remembered, I covered Iaido before in my Yamamoto Power profile video. Yamamoto seems especially adept in this particular style. I would even argue Unohana as well. Iaido emphasizes being aware and capable of quickly drawing the sword and responding to sudden attacks. The process mainly focuses on quickly drawing a blade and attacking in the same motion, followed by shaking the blood from the blade and sheathing it once again. Yamamoto displayed this particular style against the Chimera Hollow Ion, in which he split the beast clean in half, and early in the series against Jushiro and Shunsui. Although he didn't sheath his sword as his opponents were not incapacitated in the Jushiro Shunsui instance. This is further backed up by Shunsui and Jushiro, his students, performing the same technique against him in that same moment. Utsu Semi shows influences of this as well when Byakuya uses it. It follows the same principle: draw, step, cut or stab, and sheath a clean blade. It's like poetry in motion. Kenjutsu. Kenjutsu means technique of the sword. Kenjutsu is a catch-all term used to describe all forms of Japanese swordsmanship. This is how some would describe it, but there is a distinction made between Kenjutsu and its related sword practices like Kendo. In Bleach, we have direct proof of Kenjutsu being a practice as there are instructors within divisions and not just the Soul Reaper Academy. Kenjutsu in its origin created 3 major schools whose kata were much more diverse than its grandchild Kendo. Different styles not only required disciplined footwork like Kendo, but also taught combatants to switch tempos mid-fight. Different schools had different philosophies on ready stances, guards, and sword types. As one of the schools, the Kage-ryu, mainly worked with long or large swords like the Odachi, which would cover character styles like Sajin, Retsu, and Zaraki. The other school, Chujo-ryo, only focused on the usage of one blade, and generally it was the katana. This would be the single usage types like Aizen, Tosen, and Gin. The third school was unorthodox, Tenshin Shinyo Ryu, teaching dual wield, pole arms, glaives, and even unarmed combat. This was more comprehensive but still strict in its kata. This covered the skill sets of characters like Shunsui and Jushiro, Ikkaku Madarame, hell, even the Onmitsukido. Kenjutsu and its comprehensive yet stringent style made it similar yet distinctive from Kendo. I think it greatly influenced the final name style in this video. Zanjutsu. Zanjutsu, I believe, is a hybrid form, not unlike Kenjutsu, but I believe it's far more free-flowing. A sword form that covers bases but leaves it up to the practitioner to elevate. I say this for two reasons. One, when Toshiro states that due to his Bankai being stolen, he can only rely on his Zanjutsu when fighting. He states he wants to relearn the basics. But Toshiro doesn't go to a Zanjutsu master, he goes to the Squad 10 Kenjutsu instructor, Shutetsu Nagakiso, showing that Kenjutsu is a basis of Zanjutsu and that they are considered two separate things. When you look at the Zanjutsu techniques officially named or provided by the data books and anime, you'll see that no two Zanjutsu practitioners look the same. And even named techniques literally can only be used a specific way or the specific type of weapon. Which, in a weapons-based martial art, the techniques are exclusive to the weapon of choice. Comparatively, if Zanjutsu was only Kendo, as some people would argue, it would generally be built around a katana or its siblings, as all Asauchi in their base state are katanas, and this is what academy or low-ranking soul reapers would train with. So why would named Zanjutsu techniques include weapons that can be thrown, twirled, or used as blunt instruments? Because katanas are not. It's because the form is a jack of all trades and a master of none. So when a soul reaper attains a shikai and their sword potentially changes into a new weapon, they will have a solid basis for weapons usage. The Soul Reaper Academy creates fundamentals that these Soul Reapers can build from, allowing them to become their own Zanjutsu masters with their own unique styles. For example, Toshiro's Shikai requires some understanding of how to use a Kusurigama. Shuhei's Kazashini is an elevated version of this. Yet Kusurigama training isn't included in any of the previously stated martial arts, so it's not just Kendo. Toshiro, Kisuke, Gin, and Zaraki all use different types of swords, and use drastically different styles of fighting, yet are all considered masters under Zanjutsu. In chapter 3, when Rukia is training Ichigo in hollow hunting, she tells Ichigo the basic techniques for Soul Reapers to defeat hollows is to flank them, and attack their weakest point, which is either their mask or their neck, and kill them with one blow. That is neither Iaido or Kendo, yet we see their fingerprints in Zanjutsu. There is also a possibility that Zanjutsu is a derivative of Yamamoto's Genryu style, Kenjutsu, as it is believed he based the Soul Reaper Academy after that dojo. So to me, Zanjutsu seems to combine practical blade work and mixes it with situational scenarios to produce the most efficient fighters because they have to fight monsters. And I believe Kubo intended this as to keep with the diverse cast he created and a love of martial arts. Unrecognized sword styles. This section is only going to cover Unohana, as I think exploring this will add legitimacy to her title Yachiru, and explore potentially unrecognized techniques in Bleach. Sadly to say, I can't cover all unrecognized stuff as the video would be too long, so let's just move on. Her base sword styles. Her Zanpakuto takes the shape of an Odachi, and Odachi is generally 35 plus inches long in the blade, and can weigh over 5 pounds. This sword was mainly meant for downward chops, and was a compromise of length, cutting power, and slashing ability between the shorter katanas and long spears. So primarily we would see the usage of Kenjutsu and Iaido. However, Kenjutsu opens up a whole new book for Unohana in particular, because she supplements her sword style with offhand daggers and traps blades with her hands and feet. This usage of offhand blades and freehand combat is seen in Nito Jutsu, a subset of Kenjutsu. Nito Jutsu is a style that encompasses a plethora of two-handed sword techniques that include katana, wakizashi, shoto, and the tanto. But the most impressive style she uses, in my opinion, is Tanto Jutsu. It is ideal for fighting in restricted compact areas where she fought Zaraki. The knife fighting style of Tanto Jutsu was created and practiced traditionally by samurai women, so it fits Unohana. The simple one-handed grip and empty hand blocking techniques of Tanto Jutsu allow Unohana to move swiftly and slice to the bone of the target, or finding the vulnerable sweet spots on the human body like the eyes, throat, ribs, clavicle, etc., which we see her go for against Zaraki. Bankai. This sword style is probably the most unique in this video, as she uses her blood extension technique in a similar manner as the Indian Urumi. The sword and style in real life uses a flexible steel sword that is swung in a way meant to create multi-angle attacks or create defense barriers against one or more opponents. It is used to keep single opponents at a distance while you cut away at them. I believe this weapon and style is what is represented mostly in her Bankai style, as a regular whip doesn't make sense. For two reasons mainly. One, a whip isn't a sword, so therefore it wouldn't be one of the styles she learned. And two, a whip isn't devastating without the end that snaps past the sound barrier. The Arumi is dangerous no matter where you're caught in it, just like her wall of slashing blood. These are the only things I spotted for unnamed style for her, but if you saw any more, let me know, please. Alright guys, that's the video. Thank you for watching. Remember, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, come check out the Discord, and y'all just continue to have a great day. Love y'all. Bye.